Hello, you lovely people. This is Ori from What Culture Comics. I hope you're all having a great day. Now, it goes without saying that the most famous superhero in all of Marvel is that lovable web-slinging wall crawler, Spider-Man. He's noble, he's heroic, he spins the web anytime, he catches thieves just like flies. He's also a total badass too, and if you don't believe me, you need to check out this list of the 10 most powerful beings Spider-Man has defeated. Number 10, Silver Surfer in Silver Surfer number 14. Now, on any other day, the Silver Surfer would regard a hostile Spider-Man with the same attention one would afford to an ant crawling by your shoes while you're strolling down the road eating a pack of Whatsits. But in this issue of his initial run, the Surfer was having something of a difficult day. See, the Silver Surfer had recently had most of his cosmic powers drained away from him, and since the last time he was in New York was when he was acting as the Herald of Galactus, it was only a matter of time before one of the heroes patrolling New York caught sight of the Surfer and decided to have a go. Enter Spider-Man. With his powers drained and just flat out not wanting to fight a superhero, most of this fight is Spidey chasing the Surfer around New York, occasionally getting a shot in before the Surfer saves a child who is trying to take his board for a joyride. Doing so clues Spidey in that the Surfer can't be all bad, and the two part on shaky but mostly friendly terms in traditional comic book hero link-up fashion. Not the most epic of fights, but considering how powerful the Surfer is, the fact that Spider-Man was able to keep up and land some solid hits is significant. Number 9, The X-Men Secret Wars 1984. The thing about being Marvel's biggest icon is that it affords you a lot of plot armor. There are tons of situations where Spider-Man just flat out should not be able to come out on top, at least not on his own. And yet, because he is the most popular Marvel hero, bar none, he's pretty much guaranteed to win. Case in point, the original Secret Wars, where Spider-Man mops the damn floor with the entire X-Men. When Spider-Man overhears Xavier discussing with the other X-Men that they cannot stay with the heroes due to them being mutants and thus outsiders from the human heroes, despite the other heroes giving them zero cause to believe they were unwelcome, but you know, whatever, Spider-Man immediately jumps to the conclusion that they're gonna go to the bad guy side and leaps in to fight them. Contrived as it is, the fight between the X-Men and Spidey is legit incredible, with excellent choreography and every X-Men getting to show their stuff in the short time the fight takes. Yeah, Xavier wipes Spider-Man's mind at the end of this, technically handing the win to the X-Men, but considering that Spidey had worked his way through pretty much everyone else before then, I feel confident giving most of the win to him. Number 8, The Inheritors Spider-Verse. Throughout Spider-Man's life as a creation of Marvel, a ton of different interpretations of the character have arisen, so it was only a matter of time before some big cosmic threat brought this Spider multiverse together. Thus, we got the original Spider-Verse event comic, and its main antagonists, the Inheritors. The Inheritors are hunters. What do they hunt? People, specifically people who have had their DNA crisscrossed with that of certain animals, which they call totems. And their favorite game, of course, is Spider Totems. Naturally, the many different versions of Spider-Man take issue with this and team up to take the Inheritors down. While technically not a complete victory for our Spider-Man, since he needs the help of literally every other existing version of him, dogpiling these psychopaths to just barely scrape out a win, considering that these are all different versions shooting off from the same guy. I feel it still definitely deserves to be handed to Spider-Man as a pretty monumental victory. Number 7, Morlun, Amazing Spider-Man number 33. Before we ever knew about the other Inheritors, originally there was just Morlun. During J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr.'s seminal run on Spider-Man, he introduced a mysterious new villain named Morlun and his little lackey friend Dex. Morlun made a hell of a first impression by absolutely eating Spidey's proverbial lunch and generally running him ragged. Spider-Man only barely manages to get away with a blood sample so he can study the psycho and see what he's up against. At which point he makes a discovery, that being that Morlun has a bit of DNA of every animal in the animal kingdom in him, and that his DNA is pure. Well, with this little discovery, Spidey comes up with a plan. He lures the well-dressed monster into a power plant and lets Morlun have a bite, except that Spider-Man has just injected himself with quite a bit of radiation from the power plant. And when Morlun bites that bite, the radiation proceeds to tear his body apart. Spidey considers sparing him, since Morlun was only trying to survive. I mean, you don't come down on a lion for hunting a gazelle after all. The lion is just hungry. But his little buddy Dex makes the debate irrelevant by shooting his former boss dead. Number 6, Joe Fixit, Amazing Spider-Man number 328. Even when fighting the Hulk's weaker form, Joe FIXIT, Spider-Man's odds of victory under normal circumstances are not great. I mean, the only way Spider-Man could feel at all confident in taking the Grey Goliath on would be if he suddenly got phenomenal cosmic powers. So anyway, Spidey got phenomenal cosmic powers. Specifically, Spider-Man was in possession of the powers of Captain Universe, granting him the cosmic power and strength of the mysterious hero. So of course, one of the first things he does with this uncontrollable power is pick a fight with the rampaging Hulk. The reasons why he was rampaging are unimportant, seeing as how it doesn't take long into the fight before Peter just slugs Joe so hard that he rockets up into orbit. Seeing his mistake, Spidey quickly makes his way up there to save him from being suffocated by the vacuum of space, at which point the two begrudgingly call it a truce. If you can make any version of the Hulk decide that fighting you is more trouble than it's worth and just walk away with a grumble, that's a win. That's definitely a win. Number 5, FIRELORD, Amazing Spider-Man 269 to 270. Wait, so you thought Peter Parker's mad hubris stopped at challenging just one Herald of Galactus? Oh, you have so much to learn. Galactus has had many heralds, both before and after he made that fateful trip to Zenlar, and easily one of the most powerful is FIRELORD. Former Guardian of the Galaxy, former Herald of the World Eater, and full-time powerhouse, you do not want to get on this guy's bad side. Unless of course you're Peter Parker, and you've been having a stressful couple of weeks. As impressive a feat as Parker nailing a wielder of the power cosmic is, the way he wins is just flat out confusing. As a reminder, FIRELORD's powers make Johnny Storm look like a walking firecracker, and sure enough, most of this fight is FIRELORD tossing Spidey like a salad. And then Peter devises a foolproof, cunning master plan to defeat FIRELORD. Punch him really, really, really fast, over and over and over again until he falls down. I guess the almighty power of cosmic flame can't match the speed of a spider. This is why he'll never be as popular as the Surfer FIRELORD. Number 4, VENOM, Amazing Spider-Man number 299 to 300. Of course he was going to be on the list. In fact, if you didn't think he was, do me a favor, go into the comment section below and type the words, "I never knew." I just want to see something. The last stretch represents easily the most daunting physical challenges Spider-Man has ever had to take on in his superhero career. So of course, the first battle he ever had with one of the most famous foes had to make it on here. VENOM. While later fights between the two would be much bigger in spectacle, this was the first proper appearance of VENOM in the comics, so the fight between them feels even more fraught with danger since VENOM has a lot more to throw out than Spider-Man was willing to use when he had the suit. And Spidey genuinely has no idea how to even approach taking VENOM down. It's only by realizing that the symbiote's webbing was part of it, and thus made itself weaker when he used it too much, that Spider-Man can get the upper hand by goading VENOM into shooting too much of his webbing at him and taking him down. But even then, the comic had done more than enough to convince readers that VENOM was not someone to be messed with, making the fact that Spider-Man managed to floor the bastard even more satisfying. Number 3, CARNAGE. CARNAGE U.S.A. number 1 to 5. If VENOM makes the list at number 4, then CARNAGE would have to be number 3. I mean, he's basically the Venom symbiote with his evil and rage level turned up to 11. Spidey has fought Carnage plenty of times, but this might just be the hardest won battle against the psychotic symbiote yet. When a small town in the American heartland is taken over by Cletus Cassidy, who turns almost everyone in the town into extensions of himself, Spider-Man, the Thing, Hawkeye, and Captain America roll up to take Cassidy down. And then Cletus just takes over all of the heroes except Spider-Man, sending the wall crawler on the run. And then after about 5 issues of running from Carnage, grouping up with Agent Venom and a crack team of government operatives who also use symbiotes, and running down Cletus, Spidey is finally able to put the Psycho down and drag him off back to the raft. We put this here above the other fights against Carnage because to us it had the best mix of personal stakes and grand scale that maxi series like this really need. Number 2, Red Goblin, Amazing Spider-Man number 797 to 800. The Carnage symbiote is bad all on its own, but what happens if it were to be wielded by someone less pants on head crazy? A few years ago, we got our answer. The Red Goblin is the unholy fusion of the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and the Carnage symbiote. Now, Norman has gotten his hands on symbiotes in the past, but this time was unlike any of the others. The biggest change was that, thanks to the Goblin formula, Red Goblin was immune to sonic vibrations and fire, the only 2 surefire weaknesses of a symbiote. Combine that with the already insane power of the Carnage symbiote and the cunning and ruthlessness of the Green Goblin, and yeah, Spidey is in trouble. Throughout the go down swinging storyline, Spider-Man throws everything at Red Goblin, even redonning the black suit to try and beat him. In the end, he had to resort to playing to Norman's ego to get him to drop the symbiote to fight him one-on-one. It was a hard-fought battle, and Red Goblin took quite a few bites out of Peter on the way down, but Peter managed to finally do it. And number 1, Graviton, Web of Spider-Man number 64 to 65. It doesn't get much more powerful than a villain who can control gravity. Graviton is a lesser-known Avengers villain who, despite having the personality of a wet rag, has one of the most devastating superpowers in the Marvel Universe. The cosmic force keeping us glued to this spinning ball of dirt and water is his plaything, allowing him to increase or decrease the mass of any object he chooses, throw people around like they're made of cardboard, and generally be a villain you don't want to mess with. Graviton has actually tangled with Spidey on more than one occasion, the first time being a sound defeat of the Wallcrawler because, again, guy who controls gravity. The second time, Spider-Man had the powers of Captain Universe, so he dropped Graviton like a particularly bad habit. But this entry focuses on the third time, when Graviton and all the other villains Spidey humiliated with said cosmic powers learned he no longer had those powers and proceeded to hit him all at once for payback. This time, Graviton doesn't waste any time, nullifying Spider-Man's mass completely and sending him into the stratosphere. Fortunately, Spider-Man managed to web onto a passing plane to keep him from going any higher, and when he got back down to Earth, he took down Graviton in one punch. One punch! Really, Graviton? See, this is why the MCU doesn't want anything to do with you.